a while ago. I gave you this is the insecurity. I'm sorry you did not tell me that you cannot see it. All right. And then this is the food insecurity. These are the 4 dimensions: food availability, economic and physical access to food, food utilization and stability over time. The opposite of that is this. Okay. And then in the Philippines, I was telling you, one of the things that we do. Can you see me now?
Right.
Can you
Yes.
see the slide?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, we have the Farm to Market Road project, right? And as I was telling you a while ago, is the reason for that is that we build good roads so that we can eliminate middlemen or businessmen. Because these middlemen are the ones who are buying food from the farmers, and usually they jack up the price when they go to the market. And so the poor middle and the poor farmers do not get the price that they want. All the profit go to the middleman. So if you have the farm to market road, what happened is that you remove the middleman because the farmers themselves are the one bringing their food, their produce to the market. And that is the purpose of the farm to market road. Okay, do you have something like that in Africa?
Yeah, it is the same situation. Like because like in my country, the produce are in the rural area during the rain season, the farmers cannot access the market because the road become impassable because we don't have proper road. It is the same situation as you have already mentioned, and there are some few commercial traders who will be able to fluke their way using their truck, then bargain with the farmers in a cheaper price. Afterward, they will transport their goods to commercial center, and they are overcharged now the
That is
consumers.
exactly what is happening in our country. But do you have projects like improving your roads? How is your road situation?
There are some projects being funded by European Union.
Oh, so the Europe
European,
roads.
yeah, the European Union are funding some road project to connect the feeder road to the farm producing area, so that the farmers can access market. But due to the insecurity, most of the project have ceased.
In the middle of the road, they are seized by some pirates.
No, I just because of the war, the project have
Because of
already
the
stopped.
war.
Yeah, the
Because
project
of the
stopped
war.
because the donors cannot fund some because they fear also for their lives. They have to stop funding some of the projects.
Oh, okay. So in our case, we don't have war. But what
Really?
access, sometimes they ask corrupt officials, they tax you for all the foods that you bring from town to town. Each town asks for tax, so that the prices also go up, right?
Yeah. Okay. Also, it do happen to our country. The tax system is like centralized because everybody just put a roadblock. They overcharge the trader sometimes. That's why sometimes the price go up.
Yeah.
There is no centralized system of taxation. Everyone just create mostly the men in uniform, the security personnel. Well, sometimes they are paid less. Now they create roadblock to collect money.
That is exactly, So that is one. There is available food, but it is not accessible because not necessarily of economic situation, but sometimes of the political situation, right? Like war and conflict. Okay, according to the Food or Agricultural Organization, FAO, right? Food security is a complex concept. It has 4 pillars and many indicators, and there are complex correlations between many parameters. Okay? So it's a very complex concept, and we'll try to understand it. Okay. As we did mention, the very first one is physical availability of food. Sometimes This is the supply side of the food as determined by the level of food production, stock levels, and net rate. In most cases, when we talk about the physical availability of food, there is enough food, but there's no way for them to bring them to the commercial market. But sometimes there is really no food because of disaster, because of drought, because of typhoon. So there is no food, enough food, Sometimes also the stock level, because of that, the stock levels goes down. So if you look at we have what they call the National Food Authority here, where they are in charge of putting in a lot of rice and stocking a lot of rice. It goes down when there is not enough supply of rice. The second dimension is the economic and the physical access to food, right? This is the second dimension. What is the meaning of that? When there is insufficient food access is also determined by policy focus on income, expenditures, market, and prices in achieving food security objectives. In my country, we have what they call we have a price index for all commercial food, meaning to say that the government fix the price so that anyone who violated in jacking up the price of the food is held accountable. That is the economic aspect of food. For example, you have what they call an SRP, meaning to say retail price. You cannot go beyond that. For example, a sack of rice should only be 27 pesos per kilo. If you go beyond that for that price, then what is that sound?
Yes, that's the bell for the lesson change line.
The first
All
period.
right.
Yeah. Yes.
This morning.
The third one is food utilization. Food utilization is how the body makes the most out of the various nutrients in the food. This includes good care and feeding practices, food preparation, diversity of the diet, and intra-household distribution of food, and good biological utilization of food consumed. I'd like to give something, to say something, a good example on this. And perhaps Alex, Adi, you can also mention your own example. Now, in the rural areas where most of the head of the households are farmers, most of the time, the head of the farmers usually get most of the food because according to the practice, because they work so hard. So they eat first, they get most of the food, 60% of the food or rice is going to the farmer, and the rest of the members of the family, the rest of the farm households get less, or sometimes they eat after, meaning whatever it was left by the farmer, it is the family members follow, and they divide it among the family members what was left by the farmers. How is it? That is an example of food utilization. How is it in your country?
In my country, it was before I came to Japan, I was working in one of the pastoralist community. There, the pastoralist women are the ones searching for food, but after preparing, first they have to give the youth like the junk to the husband and the kid they like, because in the area where I was, the nutritional situation of like women is not good, because most of the women they took care for men, and the children sometimes because they can move after the cattle and they can take milk, they are okay, but the women are suffering nutritionally because they do care. But the other farmers, the other community, it is not like that because people are now changing with the level of education. As people get education, they do change. Because previously, maybe such kind of only generation that had been existing, but the current situation, generation, people have now changed. If one food is brought, be divided for if it is the rural area, you give men the group, women also say the areas they divide. So, but in the city or in the some urban town, the food is brought, then everybody serves in his plate. So that's what I can tell.
All right, thank you. I'm glad there is a participation of women in your country. In our country also, they do participate. No, sometimes the women are there are many. There is increasing number of women farmers as well in my country, but most of the time they do not do the planting. They do not do the plowing of the field, but they do the weeding. They do not also apply the fertilizers, but they do the weeding and they help in the harvesting, right? The share of food, of course, is also equal. Uh, the women prepare the food they cook the food, and the men usually don't do that. That is in terms of food utilization. So in other words, there is a division of labor, even in the farm. So the men do the plowing of preparation of the land, of the agricultural land. And then the women actually do the upkeeping, they weed, they do the weeding regularly, and sometimes also help in the harvesting and in the preparation of seedlings. That is food utilization. Okay, diversity of the diet. In Japan, I know when I've been there, they have so many small plates around. If you notice it, that each plate is a different kind of food. That is not usually in my country. In the poor Filipino, so they have diverse food. So in Japan, if you notice, diverse food, diversity of food, as you can see in the plate. No? In the Philippines, you have fish or one bayan, lots of rice, no, and that's it, no. So in Japan, there is diversity of the diet, no. We don't eat a lot of raw food. We eat a lot more of cooked food in our country. And I mentioned about the intra-household distribution of food. Within the household, usually the man or the farmer get most of the share. Right. Good. Is it a good biological utilization of food consumed? How is it done? Yeah, because the rationale behind that is that they expel more energy, so they have to get in more energy in terms of food. So I think that is the 3 dimension. Let's go to the 4th dimension. The 4th dimension is stability of the 3 dimensions over time. Meaning to say, this one should be stable. Physical availability, economic and physical access, and food utilization. And that is the meaning of stability of the 3 dimension over time. Even if your food intake is adequate today, you are still considered food insecure if you have these 5 things on this side of the table. You are still insecure if you have inadequate access to food on periodic basis. So that one of the questions that is being asked to Filipino people, especially among the rural areas and where there is a high poverty of incidence, is this is the question that they are asked. How many times in a week have you come hungry? If they've been, how many times have you experienced being hungry within a week? That is
every day.
An indicator of inadequate access to food on periodic basis.
Every day
If
hungry.
you had, for example, get hungry at least 3 times a week, then that is a sign of food insecurity. The second one is a deterioration of your nutritional status. What happened is that nutritional status means to say that you are so big. That is not also good. That is, so malnutrition is two things. You are too thin or too stout
Fat.
or too fat. All right. Too fat means to say you get a lot of carbohydrates, no, and no exercise, of course. Too thin is that you don't really get enough food. So that is the meaning of nutritional status. The third one is there is an adverse weather condition, meaning to say during the rainy months, in the Philippines, we have 22 typhoons each year. And most of the time, one of the vulnerable sectors in our country that is affected by typhoon is the agricultural sectors. Usually, before they harvest, their plant is already destroyed or flooded by typhoon. That's why in International Rice Research Organization, they invented a rice that is flood resistant. They actually had food and rice stalks that are really, really long so that the grains will not be flooded, you know. But that is what they have developed. And I think the fourth one is you can relate political instability.
Yeah.
All right. Sometimes the president has been there for too long a time, for decades. And that is
Yes.
also political instability because they bring their own lords, warlords. Those who are loyal to them become, you know, get their food, while those who are not loyal to the government, to the head of the government, get food. That is political instability as well. The other side of political instability is, you know, your leader has been ousted by a coup. You know, there's a coup. And therefore, that is again a change and that result to political instability. The fifth one is economic factors. People are unemployed. There is not enough employment opportunities for the people, and so there is rising food prices, right? So may I repeat this slide? You have to have stability of food when you have those three dimensions over time. But you become insecure if you have all of this. You have inadequate access to food on periodic basis. You have deterioration of your nutritional status. Either you go too fat or too thin. The third one is adverse weather condition. The fourth one is political instability and unemployment and rising food prices. This is the sketch that will tell you to remind you. You have a copy of this anyway, right? Okay. So those are the food dimensions. The food dimensions of food security, availability of food, even if it's available, if it's not accessible to you, no good. Food utilization and food stability. So when you talk about food availability, these are production, distribution, and exchange. For food accessibility, you cannot afford it. There is very little allocation in your area because much of the allocation go to the rich people. And then sometimes preferences too is part of food accessibility. The third dimension is this one: food safety, nutritional value, and social value. The food utilization. Do you eat enough of carbohydrates? No? Meaning yams and so forth and rice, but very little protein. That is food utilization. And food stability means there is shortage of food because of the stress on available resources. And one of the reasons there is because people do not like to farm anymore. So they migrate and go instead work in factory workers. So there is also a lot of migrations from the rural areas. Young men, or what we call millennials like you know, do not like to farm anymore, but prefer to work in a factory. But in our case, they wanted to prefer to work in supermarket or in malls where they are in uniforms, they get to have good dresses, and they can wear makeup, no? So those are the four dimensions. Do you have any questions so far? Is this clear? So you know that to be food secure, you have to have this: food accessibility, food utilization, and food stability. And the circles and the ones inside it are actually the meaning of those four dimensions. Now, that is what they call risk. What is the meaning of risk? Excuse me, I will just turn off the.
Security alarm. Someone has that. The telephone call.
Sorry. The next one is what we call risk, food security risk. The Maplecraft Food Security Risk Index measures quality, safety, affordability, and availability of food. So they came up with the Food Security Index, or they also have what they call a famine early warning system networks, so that to tell you whether all of these four dimensions are present. I will show you in the next slide. First, they said that food is the ultimate security need. There is now a map that shows when you are suffering from food security risk. What is it? It is a graphic demonstration of the sickening symbiotic relationship between hunger and conflict. That's why I'm putting together regional conflict with food security, and highlights of food supply problems from Somalia to India to Spain. There is a highlight of food supply problems from these two areas. Let me show you. Okay, this is the map that shows you. This is what they call the Food Security Risk Index. And I think you can secure this one too. The darker the color is, the more insecure is food. The more they suffer from food insecurity rather than food security. So in other words, they don't have those four dimensions that I have mentioned a while ago. So when you talk about this, Afghanistan, as you could see here, is suffering from a lot of food insecurity. The other one is Eritrea, Somalia, as you could see, Somalia, Ethiopia, Burundi, and
Comoro Island.
Comorona Island. Yes, all these islands. And here, another part in Africa is Chad, South Sudan, and of course, Democratic Republic of Congo. Right, Democratic Republic of Congo. In Asia, Afghanistan, we are also orange. This is the Philippines. We are also orange, meaning not also very good. But this is where you are right now. The green one, the Japan. They are so secure. Green means secured, right? orange. The rest of the China, as you could see, is also orange. But what you notice is that a lot of food security risk is coming in your region, Africa. It's either red and deep orange, deep orange. As you could see, these are right at a glance, you could see where there is a lot of food insecurity. In South America, it is the same as most of China and the Philippines in South America. The green one is this one. Okay, right. Of course, the United States is very secured. The United States is very secured. And then the blue one is a lot of seafoods, no? Lot of seafoods. That's the meaning of that. So right at a glance, you could see what regions are suffering from food insecurity. Africa, Afghanistan, and then that of this
India.
part of India. Yes, even India. My goodness, even India. Let's move on. I'll show you this one. Right, technology. Here you can actually tap this and look for it. That's why I gave you the website. You can look for the interactive map, no, for yourself, and then you can play around it as well. That's why I gave you the website. Okay. The technology is according to them. So how do we solve this food insecurity? That is your question. How do we solve this insecurity? According to this slide, it is technology. Technology is the key to transforming the global food system. This is in Davos, Switzerland during the World Economic Forum that was only held very recently in 2019. I am going to share to you what their solutions are for food insecurity, and they call it technology. The report highlights the potential of emerging technologies to improve the traceability in food value chain. Food traceability in food value chains. I will let you know what is the meaning of that. This traceability is you can trace where from the farm to the market. You can trace it, the process until it goes to the table of the households. Where is the food coming from? From the farm to the what is the chain? From the farm to the market to the table of every household. Now, why this traceability is good? They call it traceability technology. It can reduce food waste and actually outbreaks of foodborne illnesses. As you know, the food is not transported well, before it reaches the table of the individual household, it's no longer good. No? Both of which remain a significant challenge worldwide. Again, this is the source. You can tap it. I give you the source for it. No? According to the World Health Organization, so we have now the World Health Organization, there are as many as 600 million people who get sick, and about 420,000 die annually. Why? Because of contaminated food. No? In addition, a sizable portion of the food produced globally each year is lost or wasted. Oh my goodness. That's why they said that what United States is throwing is enough to feed the developing countries like Asia and in the Philippines. That is 600 million people every year, huh? Every year. And 420,000 die. So people get 600 yearly and 420,000. What is the reason why they die? Because of just contaminated food. That's why our discussion here is very important. Food, because it can make you die if you have contaminated food. Now, what are these technologies? Okay, how do they trace the food from the market to the table? No? from the farm to the table. One of the recommendations that they said in the Davos, Switzerland 2019 is the use of sensors and GPS to track food products. So I don't know if you have the machine, there is a chip. You put chip in the food, in the cargo of food, a chip, a tiny chip, a microchip, so that you can trace where it is going on. I know it is being done on animals, on wild animals. They put a chip in their feet so that they can track where they fly, where they get food, and so forth and so on. And they can monitor it. So this GPS monitors meaning to say they track where the food is going on using sensors and GPS. No? The second technology is, they call it the blockchain technology, to track, aggregate, and supply and share supply chain data. For example, if there is so much food going to this area, maybe what you do is redistribute it to go to areas where there is not enough food. What is the third technology? It is non-invasive, non-destructive sensing such as spectroscopy. They use spectroscopy to measure and track products' quality and safety, and machine learning and image processing to analyze all of this data. So what you do is they analyze this data. They do not only tell you where it is, but they analyze it so that they can improve it. Again, that is the source, Davos 2019. The question is, so in this one, I gave you what are the technologies that they are recommending. In this slide, why these technologies? Why these technologies? According to the Davos 2019, they can help fulfill consumer demands for greater transparency in food supply chains, so that you know where it stopped, you know where the taxes had happened, you know where it was blockaded by terrorist group, you know where it happened. So consumers want to know that the food that they are buying is safe and sustainably produced. By providing more reliable data about food products from farm to fork. It's farm to fork, meaning use the fork, table. Emerging can help meet this demand. So what is the reason for this technology? So that you're assured that what you are eating is safe and there is enough food for you, not only for yourself in 1 year, but for your grandchildren. Not only for your children, but for your grandchildren. The second reason, they can enhance traceability that can help policymakers and food companies to respond more efficiently and effectively to outbreaks of foodborne illness. For example, if they know that the food has been contaminated somewhere in the middle of the rural areas and to the commercial areas, the food companies and the government can respond to it. No? So they can pinpoint where it is going on, where and what place it took place, where the food contamination had taken place. So in identifying and containing such outbreaks, new technologies can also be used to inform better inspection and quality control process, thus reducing the risk of further food safety issues. In my country, and I used to compare it in other countries like the United States, how do they transport food? Sometimes they transport food by trucks, you know. They put in a lot of vegetables in a jeep. You know, sometimes they are no longer, some of the leaves get dry, get destroyed. Comparing it to the United States, they have what they call refrigerated trucks, railroad. Much of their trains are refrigerated, that's helped to transform the food, so that when you reach the table, it is as good as it was And because it is also very fast. So sometimes they harvest it at 9 o'clock in the morning. You eat it at 10 o'clock. That is how fast it is. In my country, they harvest it a day. What you're eating was harvested 2 days ago. No? And sometimes because it takes a while, they wanted to increase the food shelves, of the food so that it will remain fresh. Sometimes they add toxic materials, like for example, formaldehyde solution, so that the eggplant can always stay shiny and so on. But then you're eating the formaldehyde because our transportation from food to the table is very bad. Unlike in other countries, I think it's also true in Japan. They get the fish, you eat it right there. You can see that they just fish it, then you can eat your sashimi, very fresh right there and there. It takes a while in my country. I'm speaking for my country. Sometimes it takes 1 week before it reaches the market. And because to make it look as fresh as it was at first, that they add all these solutions, to make it look good. Okay, so with the traceability, they can tell where did they put, what did they put, so because there are sensors. Number 3 reason, technologies for traceability can help identify where food is being lost. I think you can identify that. Where was it lost and wasted along the food value chain? This information can help producers, processors, and policymakers adjust value chain functioning to cut waste, accelerated product processing, and reduce the spoilage cost. At what point in the value chain did the food get lost? What point in the value chain, in the food value chain, where the food was wasted? What part of the value chain where there was a contamination, of the food? And that is the reason why this technology the 4th reason. Finally, these technologies can be used to validate food companies and government claims regarding production processes, thus reducing a level of accountability for commitment on stability. So there's no more finger pointing. What I mean by finger pointing, blaming the food company, blaming the government, blaming the farmers, blaming so many people except for themselves. Now, if you have this traceability technology, you can really tell where it happened, who is to blame, where it happened, and the 4th one is who is to blame. Who is to blame? And that is the meaning of how we can solve food insecurity. According to Davos, we have to have a traceability technology. A traceability. They're not even recommending refrigerated containers. They're just recommending put sensors in the food trucks so that you will be able to trace and track where they are and who is responsible for it. Do you have questions?
Question? Because I've learned a lot, because today I got some new about the technology.
Yeah. The technology, I don't know how viable it is and how fast we can use the technology, but I think do you think that solution is viable in developing countries? The traceability technology? I do not know the cost.
I think so, because now, like in the rural area, people have some network, like the mobile network. Because using such a mobile network, people can trace. Now they can connect using it.
They can already trace where is my food truck now, right? Yes.
Yes.
But you do not have to have a cell phone. They have a GPS that goes into their cell phone. They have a GPS that they can tell already. They don't have to text. They can tell where their food is using this piece of technology. Okay.
Yes.
Now, this technology is not all good. There are risks of these technologies as well. What are these risks? You are excluding smallholder farmers and small medium enterprises in developing countries because they might not have this. No? More than 75% of investment in agriculture and food technology take place in developed countries. Multi-stakeholders will be needed to ensure that developing regions are not left behind in the race to develop innovative food technology. That is what I'm afraid of. There are a lot of multi-stakeholder collaborations that has needed to ensure that we can benefit from these innovative food technologies. This collaboration should include a wide range of actors. Who are these? Who are the stakeholders? The producers, the farmers, the government, technology companies, agribusiness companies, retailers, and us, the civil society. These are the different stakeholders. And you need to have the cooperation of all of these stakeholders in order to take advantage of this technology. No? In order to take advantage of this technology. Okay, so what had happened right now is what I have discussed to you is to define the food security and the 4 dimensions of food security and what is the meaning of food insecurity. The second one I pointed is where in the world are there food insecurity risks? As you could see, there are many in Africa and in many other developing countries. The third, what are the solutions for this? And I gave you this traceability technology. What is the technology? Why is the technology important? But there are also disadvantages of this technology. That is what I have discussed so far with you. Now, this technology is part of what you call revolutions. And I'm going to give you now a little background of revolutions. All right? Okay. We are now in the 4th industrial revolutions. This technology is part of the 4th industrial revolution. This traceability technology is part of the industrial revolution. Now, I'm going to give you now a background of these revolutions, no? Industrial revolution. The first industrial revolution, of course, took place in the 18th to 19th century in Europe and North America, and it was produced when there was agrarian rural societies became industrial and urban. That is the first industrial revolution. How did it start? Because of what? Iron and textile helped develop the steam engine. That is the first industrial revolution. This is the picture of the popping Billy steam engine that was taken in the Scientific Museum in London that started the first industrial revolution. The second industrial revolution took place between 1870 and 1914. This was before the World War I, your great-grandfather, no? It was a period of growth for pre-existing industries and expansion of new ones such as steel, oil, and electricity, and use of electric power. Before it was steam engine. Now, what is the second industrial? Use of electric power to create mass production. Because there are now many people, so that now we can wear clothes the same all over the world. No? Mass production. In Japan, you have Uniqlo. You know the brand Uniqlo. Right? They mass produce products. Major advances in this period are telephone, light bulb, phonograph, and internal combustion engine. That is the second industrial revolution. The third industrial revolution is called the digital revolution. What do you call it? Digital revolution. The digital revolution is the advancement for analog, electronic, and mechanical devices, and it's available today. When did it start? 1980, and it's still ongoing now. These advancements during the third industrial revolution include what are these? Personal computer, the one we are using now. This is the digital revolution. This is a way of lecturing, you know, distance lecturing. And this is because of digital revolution. We are in the digital revolution right now. The internet and information and communication technology. We are taking advantage of the digital technology. This is the 1983 industrial robot KUKA, all right? Right, that is an example of industrial. Now we are now in the fourth industrial revolution. It builds on digital, but it represents what? Embedded within societies and even within the human body. You can have a robot, you can have a bar here, and they can scan you and tell the people what is your blood pressure, what is your illnesses, and so forth and so on. It's what you call fourth industrial revolution. What do we have? Robotics, artificial intelligence, nanotechnology, quantum computing, biotechnology, Internet of Things, what they call it, decentralized consensus, 3D printing, and autonomous vehicles. They can drive on their own, the vehicles. Where is our technology on food insecurity? Is it digital or fourth industrial? Alex.
It is now from revolution.
The traceability technology, is it third industrial or fourth industrial?
It is in the third, but it has now moved to the fourth one because of Internet of Things, IoT.
It's IoT, Internet of Things. Okay. So it's so-called the fourth industrial revolution. This was actually a book. There is a book about this by Schwab. No? This underlying basis for 4I lies in the advancement in communication and connectivity rather than technology. So it's more communication technology. These technologies have great potential to contribute to connect to billions of more people to the web, drastically improve the efficiency of business and organizations, and help regenerate natural environment through better asset management. That's why the traceability technology is part of the fourth industrial revolution, because you enhance the natural environment through better assessment of management. This is the author of the book. The name is Klaus Schwab, an executive chairman of the World Economic Forum in the Davos 2019. That is the book. No, that is this person, all right, who wrote about the fourth industrial. According to Eric Segel, the fourth industrial evolves of a unique opportunity to improve human communication and conflict resolution. I don't know how it can resolve conflict, but according to Eric Segel, it can help in the conflict resolution. The praise for it was first introduced by Schwab, the person that I showed you when? Not very long ago, 2015, 4 years ago, in the article in Foreign Affairs. So we are very abreast here. What I'm teaching you here is very current, no? Right. So these are examples of fourth industrial revolution. What they call this? It's a webcam that travels around the desert and features the area. No? This is what Google are using, the Google Earth. No? The view of the Mars, that they are in Mars, I'm sorry. This is the view of the Mars. They were able to explore the Mars. They don't have to bring in people or astronauts there. They just use this. Landscape close to the ESO shows one of ESO seeker prototype mass over vehicles during the Seeker used its stereo vision to map its surroundings, assess how far it had moved and plan its route, and taking care to avoid obstacles. Because there is a suspicion that there might be some living things in Mars. So they use this. Then, of course, the robotics. No? Right? If it is dangerous, you ask the robots to do it for you. They can also use it for cars. And Internet of Things, as you said, you are familiar with that. Right. Now, this is what my interpretation here. Can you read it first? May I go and